Welcome to Global West. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. What is going on, everyone? Today, we're witnessing a massive shift in the world economy that could change everything. 7 major countries are cutting exports to the United States. This will impact prices, jobs, and what you can buy. It's a global economic earthquake. Meanwhile, Canada just signed a groundbreaking trade deal with the EU. This could redirect trillions in commerce and reshape global power. The world is changing fast. Let's break down what it means for you. Let's kick things off with the biggest player on the board, China. For decades, the US and China have been locked in a complex economic dance. Now Beijing is scaling back exports to the US in a calculated, strategic move. China is focusing on its massive domestic market, aiming for stability and self-sufficiency. At the same time, they're investing globally through the Belt and Road Initiative. The bottom line? China is deliberately reducing its economic ties with the US. The era of cheap, unlimited goods from China is ending, and the transition will be turbulent for American businesses and consumers. Next up, we're heading south to Mexico, a country whose economy is deeply intertwined with the United States. For years, the US-Mexico trade relationship has been one of the biggest in the world, especially in the auto industry. But now, Mexico is also starting to pull back, and this one hits really close to home. One of the main drivers behind this change is a push for economic sovereignty. The Mexican government is actively trying to reduce its dependency on the US market. By diversifying their trade partners, they hope to build a more resilient economy. The automotive sector is where this is being felt the most. Mexico is a powerhouse in car manufacturing, producing parts and assembling vehicles for almost every major brand sold in the US. However, new policies and a focus on developing trade with Latin America and Europe mean that some of this production is being redirected. This could lead to serious disruptions for US car makers, potentially causing higher car prices and longer waits for new vehicles for American consumers. The seamless cross-border trade that businesses have relied on for decades is becoming less predictable. Mexico's pivot is a clear sign that the old rules of regional trade are being rewritten. Now let's cross the Atlantic to the economic engine of Europe, Germany. Known for its incredible engineering, luxury cars, and heavy machinery, Germany has long been a key trading partner for the US. But even this powerhouse is reducing its exports to the American market. A primary reason for Germany's export reduction is the European Union's push for strategic autonomy. The EU, with Germany as its leading voice, wants to become more self-reliant. Energy costs and green policies are another massive factor. Germany is undergoing a huge energy transition, moving away from fossil fuels towards renewables. The automotive industry is again a perfect example. German brands like BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Volkswagen are global icons. Germany's cooldown is a clear signal that the transatlantic trade relationship is no longer a given. Let's head back to Asia and talk about another technological giant, Japan. For decades, Japan has been a symbol of quality and innovation, exporting everything from reliable cars to cutting-edge electronics to the United States. But now, Japan is also carefully and strategically cutting back on certain exports. One of the biggest drivers is national security. Japan possesses some of the world's most advanced technology, especially in robotics, semiconductors, and specialized materials. Another key factor is Japan's aging population and shrinking workforce. With fewer workers, Japanese companies are forced to automate and become more efficient. Like Germany, Japan is also navigating the treacherous waters of the US-China rivalry. The specific sectors affected are critical. Ultimately, Japan's retreat is a quiet but profound one. Right next door to Japan, we have another technological and manufacturing powerhouse, South Korea. Home to global giants like Samsung and Hyundai, South Korea's economy has been an incredible success story, with the United States as a major partner. But now South Korea is also recalibrating its export strategy. The primary force behind South Korea's shift is the hyper-competitive nature of the industries they dominate. They're in a constant battle for market share with companies from China, Taiwan, and the United States itself. Furthermore, South Korea is on a mission to become a completely self-reliant technology nation. This pivot also has a geopolitical dimension. South Korea lives in a tough neighborhood, with China as its largest trading partner and North Korea as a constant security threat. The sectors most affected by these changes are, unsurprisingly, the most advanced ones. In essence, South Korea's strategy is one of focused protectionism and strategic diversification. Let's shift gears and head down to South America to the continent's largest economy, Brazil. Unlike the tech-focused countries we've discussed, Brazil's power lies in its immense natural resources. It's an agricultural and commodity superpower, exporting things like soybeans, iron ore, coffee, and beef to the world. But now, even Brazil is cutting back on exports to the United States, and this is driven by a combination of new trade alliances and a focus on more profitable markets. The biggest factor here is China. Over the past decade, China has become Brazil's #1 trading partner by a huge margin. Environmental policies and sustainability are also playing a huge role. Brazil is under intense international pressure to protect the Amazon rainforest and adopt more sustainable farming practices. The commodities involved are fundamental to the United States economy. Brazil's pivot towards China and its own regional partners shows how the global map for commodities is being redrawn. Finally, let's talk about the world's most populous country and a rising economic giant, India. With a massive young workforce and a booming tech sector, India's relationship with the United States has been growing stronger for years. But now, India is also joining the list of countries implementing export reductions. The Make in India initiative is at the heart of this shift. The Indian government is aggressively promoting domestic manufacturing. A prime example of this is in the pharmaceutical industry. India is known as the pharmacy of the world, producing a huge percentage of the generic drugs that Americans rely on. India is also becoming more assertive in its trade negotiations. Another factor is India's push for food security. India's rise is not just about new opportunities, it's also about new competition and a more complex and challenging trade environment for the United States. So, there you have it. 7 major countries all making strategic decisions to cut exports to the United States. From China's grand strategy and Germany's green transition to India's Make in India push, the reasons are complex, but the result is the same. The global economic landscape is fracturing. For the United States, this means the era of easy, cheap, and unlimited access to global goods is over. This will inevitably lead to supply chain disruptions, higher prices for consumers, and a massive challenge for American industries to adapt to this new reality. But in the middle of all this chaos, there's a potential silver lining, and it's sitting right on the United States border. Canada's massive new trade deal with the European Union is a game changer. For the United States, this could be a golden opportunity. By strengthening its partnership with Canada and potentially aligning with this new Canada-European Union axis, the United States could build a more resilient and reliable supply chain for the future. The world is reorganizing itself into new economic teams, and the game is just getting started.